KWT slaying.
Salama family, salama. How y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. So I'm gonna be doing a lot more teachings on this channel, a lot of the in-depth research on this channel, so that we can really get into the details. Because understand this, what I teach a lot of times is what I see, my position. But you got to understand, I'm going to take a hard stance on my position because I've done the research. I've went in, I've dug into the texts, the papers, the Bible, did the comparisons. Now, remember the last show I did, Undeniable Proof that Africa is Israel. Ethiopia is Jerusalem. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it again. I'm 100% convinced. What we call Ethiopia is Jerusalem. Now, some people in Ethiopia call it the New Jerusalem. That's what they say. They call it the New Jerusalem. No. Ethiopia is the true Jerusalem. They didn't lie to you. They didn't lie to us. They didn't lie to the world. And understand too, they play with words. They play with terms. You know, like Ethiopians, Ethiopia. What comes to your mind when you hear the word Ethiopia? A certain group of people that look sort of Middle Eastern, sort of / black. But Ethiopia meant burnt face. It meant dark. It meant black. So they were talking about black folks. Now, people like the beta males and people like Abu, all they do is ad hominem attacks. But they don't do no research. Your code was wrong for this. Tail ministry's wrong for that. But let them sit down and break apart each one of the videos I've done and compare what the Bible describes Jerusalem as, and the Middle East doesn't fit. I don't care what nobody say. Nobody can tell me any different. That Ethiopia, what we call Ethiopia, is where Jerusalem is, the true Jerusalem. I'm convinced. I'm convinced 100%. Nobody could tell me nothing. You're not going to change my mind. That's how convinced I am. Ethiopia is where we're going back. That is where Zion is. I'm 100%. I don't never say that. I don't never say that. But based upon the evidence, both biblically, historically, everything, geographically, it answers everything. Now, Israel, I told you what Israel is. That whole area from what we call Ethiopia / Abyssinia all the way to the Niger, inclusive of South Africa. What we call sub-Saharan Africa. That's Israel. You think God gave you that little small piece of land in the Middle East full of dirt, barely any water, unless you right there on the Mediterranean? Foolishness. Foolishness. But let's get into this. Yeha. Does that word sounds familiar to you? Yeha, Yah. We're gonna talk about that. So Ethiopia is the place of the real Jerusalem, not the new Jerusalem that's gonna come out of heaven. The real Jerusalem, that's our home. That's the territory that was given to us. This is why Haile Selassie was letting black folks come and live in Ethiopia. He knew. They know. Africa, sub-Saharan, is the true land of Israel. Period. Ain't nobody gonna change my mind. That's how firm I am on my position. That's how much the evidence points to that. I'm like I say, take the Bible, take the descriptions of Jerusalem, compare what's in the scriptures to what you see in the Middle East. Ain't no way. Not even close. And there are things I'm going to talk about today that's in the Bible, but you don't pay attention to. Right? So the seed of truth must grow. I told y'all this is a truth ministry. And the truth ministry, when you have a truth ministry, that is, when you have a truth ministry, you're going to have a lot of opposition. I'm cool with that. Told y'all I'm a fighter. I don't mind scrapping. Born that way. Fought all the time. Come on now, boo, with your next attack. I'm ready for you, boo. Come on, bro. Anyway, let's continue. And I know you out there, Abu. You stalking. I'm not mentioning you, Abu. You stalking. I don't like you, Abu. You stalking. I don't like urban apologists. Y'all stalking. I don't like none of y'all. Why? Because y'all are liars. And this is a truth ministry. And therefore, with a truth ministry hate lying ministries. You're a liar, Abu, whatever your name is. You're a liar, all you urban apologists, y'all all are liars. So Yeha in the Gaiz, older, right, Himjar, Old South Arabian, is a town in the Mekelle zone of the northern Tigray region in what? Ethiopia. So this is Yeha. It likely served as the capital of the pre-Aksumite kingdom of Damat. Pre-Aksumite kingdom of Damat. I'm going to show y'all something. These people be lying, misrepresenting, twisting things, making assumptions. When if you look at that Bible, it's going to tell you Ethiopia is our home. So this is the temple of Yeha, the oldest standing structure in Ethiopia. The temple of Yeha is located in Yeha. This is a tower built in the Sabaean style and dated through comparison with ancient structures in South Arabia to around 700 BC. Understand this. They play with words. They play with terms. They fix an image in your mind of what something is. Like South Arabia. When you hear South Arabia, you're automatically thinking what? Arabs. When you hear Sabaean, you're not thinking Israelites, the Sabaean style. I'm going to explain something to you. And also, some of you all was like, if Ethiopia is the true Jerusalem, show me evidence of Roman occupation. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you evidence of Roman occupation. Why would Jerusalem be in the land of Ham? Why would Jerusalem be in the land of Ham? TNVRHMD. Where do you suppose Jerusalem is, my brother? Do you think Jerusalem is over here in the United States? Do you know in the United States it is occupied by Hamites? Do you not know TNVRHMD that the land of Ham was the land of Canaan? Do you not know TNVRHMD that Canaan was a Hamite? Come on now. Do you not know TNVRHMD that the land that we took was Canaanite land? So to answer your question, why would Jerusalem exist in the land of Ham is because it is or was the land of Ham. Duh. Come on now. Canaan was a Canaanite, and a Canaanite is a descendant of who, fam? Come on now. Let's get our ABCs straight before we continue. Let's get our ABCs straight. Come on, family. Who was Canaan? Who was Canaan? Living in the land of Ham. Come on. Somebody help me, please. Because I can't stand this, the lack of scholarship. I can't. Come on now, family. I want to see all of y'all. Who is Canaan descended of? Thank you, family. Thank you. Tell him Ham. Ham. I'm just saying, dude. Come on, y'all got to stop it with the dumb questions. The dumb questions. We all got to be on the same page first before we even get started. Canaan was in the Levant. And let's see your research, brother. Let's see your research, because right now you batting zero. You batting zero. So let's continue. So the word Yeha. Let's look at this in comparison to the Hebrew. We should see some obvious connection to Yahuwah or Yahweh. I contend that Yeha is the root of Yahweh or Yahuwah. And here are some various spellings of the name of the Most High. Thank you, Brother Karras, for the gift. We can see that the phonetics used in pronouncing Yahweh can be applied to Yeha as well, especially if we ignore the vowel points added to Hebrew. I believe that Yeha or Yahweh or Yahweh is the name after the Most High, Yah. So Yeh is the same as Yah. Just like Yeha, Yeva had the same phonetic sound. So why is this important? So over here we see a comparison here. It says, here are the list: Yahuwah, Ayuah, Yahuwah, Yahweh. I'm gonna skip all of those. Yahweh, Yahweh. See all these different phonetic pronunciations of Yahweh or Yahuwah. Yahweh, right? Yewa, Yeha, right? Yewa, Yahweh, Yewa, Yahweh, Yahweh. So my point is, Yeha is just another derivative of the name of Yah. Why is that important? Because we know that Israelites was all over that land. We know that. So Bantu migration is Canaan expanding into Africa. Oh my goodness. My goodness. Let me continue. I'm going to keep getting distracted by him. Put him in timeout, family, please. So here we see the ruins of Yeha are undoubtedly on the ancient road between Adulis and Axum. So where is Yeha? Yeha is between Adulis and Axum. Why is this important? Why is this important? This is important because we're going to see where the occupation of the Romans were. We're going to see where the Romans were. And so we got to keep in mind where Yeha is, right? Being the location between Adulis and Axum. Now, you got to keep this in mind because I'm going somewhere with it. Yeha, which is, in my opinion, phonetically Yah, or Yahweh, or Yeha, because they pronounce it Ava as well, like Yeva or Yahweh. That Yeha is important. Why? We're going to see. Because Yeha is between Adulis and Axum. Understand that. Where's the region of Yeha between Adulis and Axum? That is important. So then a second passage on the Nile and the conquest of the kings of Semen in the snow mountains. Now, this geography is absolutely correct. After crossing the Mareb, one of the Abyssinian sources of the Nile, the first place would be Yeha or Ava. Just like I said, Yeva, Ava, Yeha, Yewa. Okay? So about 12 miles distance than Takazi. So this is from James Theodore Bent, The Sacred City of the Ethiopians, being a record of travel and research in Abyssinia. Now that word Abyssinia is interesting. That's going to be interesting. Keep that in mind. So Yeha or Ava, or shall we say Yahweh or Yeva, is between a place called Adulis and Axum, between Adulis and Axum. So we've heard of Axum, but why is Adulis important? A connection to Rome. So though it may seem contradictory that a temple for sun worship is connected to this being the true Jerusalem, we must remember that Israel worshiped pagan gods while still in Jerusalem. Why is this important? This is from the same book. It says the obvious antiquity of the building, right, which is the temple of Yeha, the rude monoliths and the hymnaric inscriptions, and then absolute confirmation arrived from Professor D.H. Mueller, who in one of the inscriptions found at Yeha, read the words, his house or temple, Ewa. Hence, we have Eva. So you can pronounce Eva, Yeha, Yeva, Ewa, right? As a principal city of a Sabaean colonization with a temple and monoliths and sun worship, conquered by an overwhelming army which spread over Ethiopia. The victories of which are recorded on the Adulian stone, Adulitan stone, whereas Axum is not mentioned. And as we shall show in a subsequent chapter, the monoliths and ruins of Axum bear obvious traces of what? Greco-Egyptian civilization. Greco-Egyptian civilization, shall we say Egyptian and Roman. All right, so Ezekiel 8:14 says, then he brought me to the entrance of the north gate of the house of the Lord. And I saw women sitting there mourning the god Tammuz. So here they said that this particular temple was a sun worship. In the Bible, Israel was what? Worshiping who? Tammuz. God say, have you not seen what they're doing? I see women weeping for Tammuz. These are the type of things you should expect to see in Jerusalem. Both biblically oriented, God's or Yahuwah type of belief systems or artifacts. And you should also probably see pagan worship. Why? Because our ancestors worshiped other gods, which is why we're in captivity right now. So who was Tammuz? Tammuz, the name of a Phoenician deity, the Adonis of Greeks. He was originally a Sumerian or Babylonian sun god called Dumuzi, the husband of Ishtar, who corresponds to Aphrodite of the Greeks. So Yeha temple is supposedly connected to sun worship. Ain't nothing wrong with that in terms of the biblical history. Now, there's something wrong with that in terms of following Yahuwah and worshiping him. But in terms of the history of a people that went in and out of captivity, right, because of their pagan practices and idol worship, you would expect to see this in the land of Jerusalem. So here we see the sacred city of the Ethiopians. It says, the original tabut, or the Ark of the Covenant, which Menelik, the son of Solomon, is reported to have brought with him from Jerusalem. And in this legend, one sees probably a faint glimmer of truth. At first, says the legend, it was kept at Yeha and then removed to Axum. This is conformity with existing proof. When Yeha was destroyed, the arcana of their religion and the capital of the kingdom was transferred to Axum. So now, this ties all the way back to Adulis. Why is Adulis important? Because with Adulis, we're going to connect this whole thing to a Roman occupation. Y'all been looking for that Roman occupation. I'm going to give you that Roman occupation, and I'm going to show you what really happened. I'm going to show you the true Jerusalem. I already showed you the true Israel. I really already showed you the true Jerusalem, but this just adds to it. So Adulis, the ancient port city of Adulis, is located on the Red Sea coast of Eritrea, on the crossroads for trade between the Mediterranean and the Indian Ocean. It is mentioned in a number of classical and Byzantine sources, together with other Red Sea ports such as Berenike, Egypt, Myos, Hormuz, Qasir, Egypt, first and latter with Clisma, Ismailia, Egypt, and Ela. The ancient port city articulated the Roman, Byzantine, and Indian trades for over 7 centuries. It is located 56 kilometers to the south of Massawa. So here, and this is not all I'm going to show, but here we see that the Romans did trade with Adulis. It was a trading port. Why do you think that the particular quote-unquote ancient Roman Empire occupied Jerusalem? Jerusalem was a trading post. It was a location where people came through. It was sitting right there on the Red Sea. And I'm going to show you the territory. I'm going to show you the territory. Thank you for the gift, Jeffromowski. Oh, yeah, Jeffromowski. I guess I pronounced that right. Thank you for the gifts, Tamara, and anybody I missed. Thank y'all for the gifts. So understand this. You got to add all of the pieces together. See, the people that come around here, right, to try to counter my position. It's the same type of people like the guy who was on here who says, how is Jerusalem in the land of Ham? The lack of intellectual honesty is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Even after you tell him that Canaan was a Hamite, he still holds his position. But I digress. So Adulis, runaway slaves. Here's the book, Raoul McLaughlin, The Roman Empire and the Indian Ocean. This is important. The Roman Empire and the Indian Ocean. The Roman Empire. And what? The Indian Ocean. I'm going to show you something about the Roman Empire. And I'm going to show you something about Israel, the land of Israel. I'm going to show you something about the land because it was a trading route, which is why they occupied Jerusalem. Ain't no different than what these colonizers did when they came in and took over South Africa, took over Zimbabwe, took over Kenya. Same stuff. Rome, they are Romans, the Western Roman Empire doing the same thing. But I'm going to show you the ancient Roman Empire. So there were legends that Adulis was founded by runaway slaves from Egypt. And the settlement was therefore known as Freeman's Town. Let me stop right there before we continue. The legend says, now they're going to try to disregard the legend. Excuse me. But the legend says that Egypt, or that Adulis was founded by runaway slaves from Egypt. Now, family, who do you think those slaves were? Who do you think those runaway slaves were from Egypt? Could it be those same people who were runaway slaves from America? Who were these runaway slaves that would have founded Adulis? Or can I say, who were these runaway slaves that founded Israel, that founded Jerusalem? I'm just asking. We know we had some runaway slaves. You know, some of them Israelites ran away from Egypt, just like some of our ancestors ran away from America. You know, they went back home. But we're going to continue here. Thank you for the gift, Naaman. So the legends is that it was founded by runaway slaves from Egypt. The settlement was therefore known as Freeman's Town. In reality, so now they're telling us the truth. So the legends, which is the history says it was founded by runaway slaves. But now they're going to tell us what the reality is. See, this is where they lie. This is where they manipulate stuff. This is where they put thoughts in your mind. You got to go by the history of the people and what they say. The legends say it was founded by runaway slaves from Egypt. But here they say, in reality, its origins were obscure. So the origins were obscure, right? See, this is how they do. And it is possible that the site began as a Ptolemaic hunting station similar to Ptolemy's Theron. You believe that? I don't believe that. I believe the first one, that it was founded by runaway slaves. Like, see here, well, let me continue. Like Theron, Adulis was situated on a small area of arable land that could support a permanent community with locally grown. You could go read the rest. So Ptolemy had a connection to Israel. The Ptolemies controlled Egypt. Ptolemy sent someone to Israel, to Jerusalem, to see the sacrifice of the letter of Atreus. We're going to talk about that. See, all of this stuff ties together when you look at the pieces and you put the pieces together, it all starts making sense. So the trade route of Adulis, this is the trade route of Adulis. Here's Adulis right here, right? Zula. So the map of the trade routes across Ethiopia from digital collection, once again, James Theodore. 1852 to 1897. So it says here, Adulis, the modern Zula, was the port of one of the great trade routes, which led into the interior and eventually came into the Nile Valley at Meroe. It is about 20 miles south of Massawa on the Red Sea, about 2 miles from the shore, and is represented now by a number of mounds covering buildings which have been hidden by accumulation of soil, washed down by the adjacent river, which is now entirely silted up. The few traces of architecture still to be seen point to a late period, probably not more than a century before Christ. As for the great Adultan inscription, it was long since disappeared and probably lies buried in one of the mounds. Luckily for us, it was copied and its authenticity is undoubted, and it forms one of the most valuable aids we have in deciphering the ancient geography of Abyssinia. So understand this. You got to put all of the research together. Remember that Jews, what they call Ethiopian Jews, Beta Israel, existed, according to them, you've seen the documents, I've shown them, for over 2,000 years in that location. So then at what point did they cross and come here from the Middle East and set up everything, to set up a fake Jerusalem and all these things, right? At what point? Because they were there during the time of the Second Temple period, where the Romans occupied that land. Why? Did you think they just wanted Jerusalem because of the temple? Yeah, they wanted some of that stuff, but they also occupied it. Why? Because it was a trade route. Just like everything we see today is all about the money, all about the dollar, all about control. So Zula, aka Adulas. So see where modern day is Zula. This was Adulas. Now, see all of this territory right here? Eritrea, Ethiopia, right? I'm going to show you where this was not only the land of Israel, but the land of Israel, as I told you, extended far west. But guess what? The land of Israel also what? Extended far east. I'm going to show you. This is why you see when they talk about the Romans occupied Arabia. Arabia was part of the territory of the Israelites. The land that you call Israel today was part of the land of the Israelites. I'm going to show you. So Ptolemy says here, both Ptolemy and Periplus mentioned the town of Colo as the first place inland after Adulis. The Periplus tells us that it is 3 days from Adulis and 5 from Axum. Legene imagined that it therefore must be near Halai, the first village on the high plateau on the road to Axum. Salt considered Dixon to be the spot, distant about 3 hours from Halai. When we visited these villages, I searched everywhere for ruins, but found none. However, at Halai, we heard the extensive ruins on a high and isolated plateau. What? A high and isolated plateau called Kohaito. So we determined to pay them a visit, and there can be no doubt that these ruins mark the site of the old town of Kolo, for they are very extensive and exactly where they ought to be, namely 3 days from Adulis and 5 from Axum, and there are no others within the area many miles. So why is Ptolemy important? He is important because in the letter of Aristeas, he sent someone to Jerusalem to watch the animal sacrifices. So Ptolemy had a connection or a relationship with Adulis. Ptolemy had a connection with Adulis. Ptolemy also sent people to Jerusalem to see the sacrifices. Y'all know that if you saw the other shows. So the letter of Aristeas, the number of those whom he transported from the country of the Jews, from the country of the Jews, where to Egypt, amounted to no less than 100,000. Of these, he armed 30,000 picked men and settled them in garrisons in the country districts. And even before this time, large numbers of Jews had come into Egypt with the Persians. And in an earlier period, still others had been sent to Egypt to help Samicus in his campaign against the king of the Ethiopians. Now remember, Ethiopians don't mean what you think today. Okay, Ethiopians just mean Negroes, black folks, okay? But these were nothing like so numerous as the captives whom Ptolemy, the son of Lagus, transported. As I've already said, Ptolemy picked out the best of these, the men who were in the prime of life, and distinguished for their courage and armed them. But the great mass of others, those who were too old or too young for this purpose, and the women too, he reduced to slavery. Not that he wished to do this of his own free will, but he was compelled by his soldiers, who claimed them as reward for the services which they had rendered in war. Who do you think these slaves were? But the whole point of me showing this piece, and I'm going to show you another piece of the letter of Aristeas, is that there was a connection between Ptolemy and the Jews in the land of what we call Ethiopia or Axum or Abyssinia. Now, on the right-hand side, we read this, right? It is the ancient trade route across Ethiopia, J. Brent. It says the high plateau of Kohaito is very curious formation, being what? A long isolated mountain. What is it? A long isolated mountain, what? With a flat top like Table Mountain. Table Mountain is in South Africa. 7,000 feet above the Red Sea. It is most difficult to ascend. Notice the description. It is most difficult to ascend, being surrounded by precipices. But the way by which we approached at the southern end and the way by which we descended about halfway down the western side offer ample traces of old roadways. Old what? Roadways. Why? Because there was Roman Empire there who created roads and used Jerusalem as a trading route. I'm going to prove it. So in difficult places, the rocks have been cut. Walls of sustentation are visible at many points, but boulders have fallen and trees grown up, which make the ascent now exceedingly arduous. The ancient ruins are exactly in the center of what? A high plateau by the side of a stream, which has eaten away a curious low valley. Okay, now compare this to the description of the letter of Aristeas. And this is talking about Jerusalem where the sacrifices were being done. Other mountain torrents, as they are called, flow down into the plain, and encompass the parts about Gaza and the district of Ashdod. The country is encircled by a natural fence and is very difficult to attack. Can we say difficult to ascend? Same thing. If it's difficult to ascend, it's difficult to attack, and cannot be assailed by large forces, owing to the narrow passes with their overhanging precipices. Do we see here the same description of that same area, which is the area where Adulis is the area where Axum is, right? Where's where Yeha? Precipices with overhanging precipices. Same thing we see over here in Jay's bent description of Ethiopia. And deep ravines and the rugged character of the mountainous regions which surround all the land. We were told that from the neighboring mountains of Arabia, what? From the neighboring mountains of what? Arabia, keep that in mind, copper and iron were formerly obtained. This was stopped, however, at the time of the Persian rule, since the authorities of the time spread abroad a false report that the working of the mines was useless and expensive in order to prevent their country from being destroyed by the mining in these districts and possibly taken away from them owing to the Persian rule, since by the assistance of this false report, they found an excuse for entering the district. Now, for you all who haven't seen the other videos, you got to go and, or at the very least, read the letter of Aristeas, which talks about Jerusalem. This is part of the descriptions of Jerusalem. There's more descriptions. We talked about that in other videos. Which talked about Jerusalem, talks about the precipices, talked about the sacrifices going on there. We see the same description over here, right, from J. Brent. Why is this important? Because I'm going to show you that this whole area was occupied by Romans. Y'all were like, where the evidence for the Roman occupation for Ethiopia or Abyssinia or Axum? I'm going to give it to you. See, this was happening, or this what happens when you allow somebody who plays chess and somebody who's a computer programmer. I see all the little pieces because I got to make it make sense. I got to put all the pieces together for it to make sense. And if you go and look at all the videos we've done, about 20 something, all of them in the playlist at Odyssey, you go look at that, you will see the pattern, you will see the connection. And I don't care what nobody say. You ain't going to change my mind. This is Jerusalem. So torrent, we saw from Jay Brent that it was a torrent mountain, right? Let's go back. It says the high plateau of Cajito is a very curious formation, being a long isolated mountain with a flat top like Table Mountain, 7,000 feet above the Red Sea, right? Now over here, Aretius, it says other mountain torrents. What's a torrent? A torrent is a sudden, violent, and copious outpouring. Remember we saw the overhanging precipices? A natural upward projection of the Earth's surface. That's a mountain. Higher and steeper than a hill, often having a rocky summit. Overhanging precipices. From the letter of Aretius, same thing. High plateau that we see from Jay Brent, same description. Precipices, same description. Now, like I say, don't take any of this as standing alone as evidence by itself. Take all of the evidence together and come to your conclusion. See, this is the problem I have with people who want to say, why is Jerusalem in the land of Ham? Oh my goodness, I can't. So Roman occupation in the doulas. This is from JSTOR. All right, it says, Ptolemy says, the whole coast, which is near the Arabian and Oolitic Gulf, is called Regio Troglodytica. Do y'all remember from some of the research we've done in the past about the troglodytes? It all comes together. Troglodytes means they live in caves, okay? Now remember also that I showed you in other videos that Lazarus was buried in a cave. There's caves in Ethiopia with buried bodies. I'm just saying it all comes together. So troglodyte, Regio Troglodytica, as far as Mount Eliphas, in which live the Adulites and the Avilites. Also, we read that the Avilites were great importers of myrrh into Sabia, from whence it was imported into Europe. Hence, we may suppose that prior to the what? Greco-Roman occupation. What area are we talking about here, family? We're talking about Adulis. We're talking about Adulis. What? Greco-Roman occupation. What's an occupation, fam? What happens when the military comes and occupy your land? Y'all wanted to know about Rome. When did Rome occupy Ethiopia? Is right there. Case closed. I could shut it down right now. Case closed. I'm done. I'm finished. Bye. You wanted Roman occupation. There you go. Hence, we may suppose that prior to the Greco-Roman occupation of what? Adulis, the whole of this district was occupied by traders from South Arabia who exported gold, dust, ivory, leather, hides, and aromatics for the Sabaean markets, and that their capital was at Ivos. Can we say Yeha? Yeha. The modern Yeha, for it is quite clear that no more extensive remains of the Himyaric occupation occur elsewhere. Since writing the above, Professor Mueller has sent me positive proof of this theory. As he reads one of the inscriptions, read me one of the inscriptions we found at Yeha. Thus his house, Yeha, or Awa, his house, who house? I'm just saying all this stuff. Remember, Israel worshiped other gods, thinking also they could worship Yahuwah. So Mueller connects with the worship of Baal, common in southern Arabia, and thereby he supplies us with the key, not only to the ruins of Yeha, but to the more recent ones of Axum. I already showed you that The worship of Tammuz was the worship of Baal. And that Baal was also considered a sun god. So knowing that Adulis is a town near Yeha that we now call Ethiopia proves that the Romans not only traded with this area, but occupied it militarily. With all of the other evidence proving that we call Ethiopia to be true location of Jerusalem, we now have Roman occupation here. This is what we would expect, proving this to be the area called Jerusalem. So my thing to my detractors and the ones who say I don't know what I'm talking about, you show me that place historically, archaeologically, the proof that the Middle East is our land. I win hands down. I got more evidence. Back again to the Roman Empire and the Indian Ocean. Pliny calls the east coast of Africa Anzania and suggests that this region began midway down the Red Sea near the port of Adulis. When the Chinese Empire received reports about the Roman presence in the Red Sea, they occupied Adulis. They heard the name Anzania and rendered it Zazan. Hand records list Zazan as a territory subject to Rome alongside Lufin, the Nabatean port of Leucome. The Wailu explains that Dakin, or Rome, divides the various branch principalities of their territory into small countries that include the ruler of Zazan, or Anzania, and the ruler of Lufin, Leucome. This information was probably supplied by Roman merchants from Egypt who reached the Hand Court in AD 166. From who? People from Egypt. Who? Ptolemy and them. It provides an important insight as to how Roman Empire was perceived in the Red Sea region. The Wailu also claims the king of Zazan, or Anazania, is subject to Dakin, or Rome. His seat of government is in the middle of the sea, and to the north, you reach Lufin. This is probably a reference to the Pharasan command and a situation where the prefect of the Roman port claimed jurisdiction over the coastland of what? East Africa. What? Over the coastland of East Africa. Under protection from the Pharasan command, Roman ships sailed through the Sea of Hercules to reach the Saba Himyarite kingdom. Can we say Roman occupation of Ethiopia? What we call Ethiopia, that they used to call Abyssinia, that they used to call Axum. You wanted your Roman occupation, I'm giving you your Roman occupation of Ethiopia. But not only Ethiopia, of that whole area. This is why Jerusalem was occupied by Rome. They took over the whole east coast of Africa. They took over Israel. I'm going to show you what Israel was, in my opinion. Baal or Yahwism. So remember, this is from Alan Gosby's The Lost Tribes of Myth. There was a religion called Yahwism. Where? In Abyssinia. That's why you have that temple there, even though it was offered to Baal, right? We know what Israel did. Our ancestors was, just like we got these people today, they Mormon Israelites. We got all kind of Israelites. Congo boy Israelites. We got all kind of Israelites. Atheist Israelites. We got all kind of Israelites. But we had Yahwism in Abyssinia. Here's Himyar, part of the Himyar kingdom. I'm going to show you. See all of this right here? This was Israel, right? Part of Israel. And some of this territory was part of Jerusalem. Part of Jerusalem went across the Red Sea, in my opinion. Part of Israel went across the Red Sea in my opinion. Yahwism is the name given by modern scholars to the religion of ancient what? Israel. Now, I showed you before on that same map that Yahwism, and you saw it, was pre-exilic. Pre-exilic. So if Yahwism was pre-exilic, then that means that was pre-exile, which means that's Jerusalem. Come on now. I ain't got to go no more. I'm finished. Shut it all down. Well, you know I ain't finished. So Yahwism is the name given by modern scholars to the religion of ancient Israel. Yahwism was essentially polytheistic. Remember I told you Israel worshiped other gods? You know the history. You know the Bible. Come on now. Yahwism was essentially polytheistic. No, Yahwism is the worship of Yah. The ones who follow Yahwism, just like they do Judaism, did not always follow the Bible. With a plethora of gods and goddesses, what can we say? Baal. Heading the pantheon of Yahweh, the national god of the Israelite kingdoms of Israel and Judah with his consort, the goddess Asherah. Below them were second-tier gods and goddesses such as Baal, Shamesh, Yarkin, Mot, and Ashtarte, all of whom had their own priests and prophets, and numbered royalty among their devotees, and a third and fourth tier of minor divine beings, including the Malak, the messengers of the higher gods, who in later times became the angels of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So Wikipedia states that Yahwism was the religion of ancient Israel. Why do we find this in pre-exilic Ethiopia? Why is Yahwism associated with Baal? Are the white scholars playing with the truth here? Purposefully deceiving based upon semantics. They're deceiving you based upon semantics. They pretty much told you that the Jews worship other gods because they follow Yahwism. Yahwism was the religion of the Israelites, but yet Yahwism worshiped other gods like Baal, Shamash, Yakik, Mot, Astarte. Once again, I ask you, how come you don't find this in the Middle East? Based upon what we know of the scriptures, Israel worshiped other gods. They had idols. They got punished and kicked out each time because our ancestors was no good, turning against our Father, turning against the Most High Yah, and got kicked out the land over and over and over and over again. But yet we see Yahwism was pre-exilic, which means it was pre-exile. Come on now. Thank you for the gift, JSBS. But I ain't finished. I ain't finished. See, this is why you don't want to play me chess, because I'm detail oriented. This is why you don't want to go against me programming, because I'm detail oriented. This is why them little people over there on that other channel called Genesis 49 and shouldn't be going against me because I'm detail oriented. They don't know nothing. I'm just saying I'm detail oriented. It all has to make sense. It has to come together. Galileans. Now, this is my opinion. You don't have to agree. Okay. Is it possible that the Oromo people are Galileans, which would have included Canaanites, Israelites, and many others? I believe that the Oromo may be what connects us to the ancient town of Galilee in the Bible, which is also in Ethiopia. I believe that the Oromo may be ancient Canaanites, though some Israelites may be sprinkled in among them in the Oromia territory. This is my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. So this is the land of Oromia. So the Oromo people are the native inhabitants of Eastern Africa. Their population estimated to be 55 million, which makes it the largest ethnic group in East Africa. There are thousands of Oromo people living in diaspora, largely residing in the United States of America, Australia, Canada, Norway, England, Sweden. Distribution of Oromo in Ethiopia and Kenya. The Oromo are one of the Cushitic-speaking groups of people with variations in color and physical characteristics, ranging from Hamitic to Nilotic. Now, understand this. They say all of these people are Cushitic. Everybody Cushitic But everybody not Cushitic. But anyway, they say they're Hamites. Okay, let's just put it that way. A brief look at the early history of some of the peoples who occupied northeastern Africa sheds some light on the ethnic origin of Oromo. The Cushitic speakers have inhabited northeastern and eastern Africa for as long as recorded history. The land of Kush, Nubia, or the ancient Ethiopia in Middle and Lower Nile is the home of the Cushitic speakers. It was most probably from there that they consequently dispersed and became differentiated into separate linguistic and cultural groups. Why is the Oromo important to me? Because we're going to see that, as I mentioned in other videos, the same people that were in the land surrounding Jerusalem should still be there today. The Hittites should be there. The Canaanites should be there. The Perizzites should be there. All of the ites should be in that territory. But I believe the Oromo to possibly be of Canaanite origin. Whether or not you say they're Cushites, Canaanites, but or Hamites, I mean Cushites or Cushitic or Hamites. But I believe the Oromo to be Canaanites. Either way, they're Hamitic in ancestry. So Gala. Knowledge of the origins and history of the Oromo people prior to the 16th century, prior to the 16th century, is based purely on oral tradition. So the knowledge is based on oral traditions. Both older and subsequent colonial era documents mention and refer to the Oromo people as Gala, which has now developed the derogatory connotations. But these documents were generally written by members of other ethnic groups. The first verifiable record mentioning the Oromo people by a European cartographer is in the map made by the Italian Fra Mauro in 1460, which uses the term Gala. Just as they call us Negro, but we're Israelites. Just as they call us Hebrews, but we Igbo, right? Just as they call us niggers and we are Israelites, they call us by bywords. They call them different names. They call the Oromo Gala. They call all of us different names. So, however, Fra Mauro's term Gala was the most used until the early 20th century. So they used to be called Gala. Now, who translated the Bible? Romans, Greeks. They called these people Gala. Why do you think they called the land of the Galileans Galilee? The land of the Gala. I'm just saying, come on. You ain't got to agree. The term stated Judson Barton in 1924 was in use for Oromo people by what? Abyssinians. And we're going to see something about that term, Abyssinian. Thank you, Yeha. Style Negus as well. Jebusites and all of that. That's what they call them, descendants of kings. We call Negroes. I'm just saying it all comes together. Come on. But anyway, it was a term for a river and a forest, as well as for pastoral people established in the highlands of southern Ethiopia. This historical information, according to Muhammad Hassan, is consistent with the written and oral traditions of the Somalis. A journal published by the International African Institute suggests it is an Oromo word, for there is a word Gala, meaning wandering or to go home in their language. So the Oromo were known as Gala or Gala. Part of the land of the Canaanites was called Galilee, land of the Galileans, land of the Gala, land of the Gala. Look like a duck, quack like a duck, it's a duck. So the Hebrew word for Galilee is the Hebrew word Galil, meaning Galilee is circuit district. That's what they say it means. However, Genesis, Hebrew Chaldee lexicon states rolling, turning, used for leaves at the door, Strong's H1551, Now compare this to Strong's H1556, meaning galal, to roll or roll away. This is close to the word gala or galas that the aroma were called. It is the accumulation of evidence I'm looking at to come to my conclusions. All of this is my opinion from the years of research I've done. Since I'm not a language expert, this is speculation on my part. It's not too hard, Minister, to tell you. It's not too hard. Close to Gula as well. Ancient Galilee. By the first century AD, much of Palestine, the area known to the Israelites as the land of promise, was divided under what? Romans into 5 areas of provincial and semi-provincial status: Galilee, Idumea, Judea, Perea, and Samaria. Only Judea was overwhelmingly Jewish. While the other provinces, although mostly Jewish, also supported mixed populations of Jews, Greeks, and Syrians. This ethnic background and many historical factors becomes significant when one seeks to understand the elements that contributed to Jewish rebellion and to Galilee as a seabed of revolt, including Jewish war against Rome. Now that we have proven that Adulis was occupied by Greco-Roman troops, occupied by the Romans, the evidence continues to mount for the area we call Ethiopia to be the true location of ancient Jerusalem, the Jerusalem of our forefathers in Africa. I told you, I don't have no doubt. I'm 100% convinced that is the real Jerusalem. Ain't nobody gonna tell me nothing. The kingdom of Axum. Look at this map, family. They call this Ethiopia. This is supposedly back then the land of the kingdom of Axum. I make a case, and I'm going to make a case, that the land of Axum or the Israelite territory was larger than this. Israel was larger than this. Jerusalem was larger than this. I told you it goes all the way to west. It goes all the way to the west, goes all the way to the Niger, all the way to Sub-Saharan. And I'm going to say something right now. You're going to see why. It goes all the way to India, which is why the land that we controlled, our ancestors controlled back in the day, was inclusive of parts of the land of Egypt, what we call Egypt today, which was inclusive of that Middle Eastern little small piece of land that we call Israel today, modern Israel. So notice that the kingdom of Axum reached all of the way into what? Arabia. Inclusive in that is Yemen. Remember the story of the Igbo? The Igbo say they used to live in Saba over in Yemen. Why would the Igbo, who are Jews, live in Yemen, live in, quote unquote, what they try to tell us, Arab territory? Why are there Jews living in Yemen? Some call them Yemenite Jews, because this was Jewish controlled territory. So the Roman presence in the Arabian Peninsula had its foundations in the expansion of the empire under Augustus. So the Romans controlled Arabia. I'm making the case that the Israelites controlled and owned Arabia before it was taken over by the Romans. This is why Israel was occupied. So the Roman presence in the Arabian Peninsula had its foundations in the expansion of the empire under Augustus, and continued until the Arab conquest of Eastern Roman territory from the 620s onward. The volume of commerce between Rome and India, keep that in mind. The volume of commerce between Rome and India, keep that in mind. The volume of commerce between Rome and India via the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea was huge since the conquest of Egypt by the Romans in 30 BC, according to historian Strabo. 120 Roman vessels sailed every year from Berenice, Troglodytica. Why? Because that's where the caves are. Why? Where's Troglodytica? That's in Ethiopia. That's where the caves are. Come on now. The Romans occupied it and many times touched southern Arabia Felix on their travel to India while doing the spice route. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. This is our land, all the way from the west coast of Africa, all the way to India. Oh, you don't believe me? Okay, I'm going to show you. Troglodyte. The name Troglodytica refers to the native people of the region, the troglodyte, or what? Cave dwellers. Although the name is attested by several ancient writers, the more ancient Ptolemaic inscriptions, there go Ptolemy again, the Ptolemaic inscriptions read troglodyte, which Huntingford, 1980, speculated could be derived from the same root as Tuareg. Who are Tuaregs? I told you, Tuaregs are Israelites as well. It is possible that later copyists confused this name with the more common term troglodyte. Now, once again from J. Bent, there are Himyaric inscriptions at Axum, of which I brought impressions of 3, but they are later than those from Yeha. Consequently, it would seem that Eva, or Yeha, was destroyed, and Axum took its place as the capital of Ethiopia, Troglodytica, during the reigns of the Ptolemies. Let's stop right here for a second. It is saying more than you think. Let's read this again. It says that there are Himyaric inscriptions at Axum, of which I brought impressions of 3, but they are later than those from Yeha. So these inscriptions are later than those from Yeha, older. Consequently, it would seem that Yeha was destroyed. Yeha was destroyed. Yeha was what? Destroyed. Alva is Yeha. Consequently, it would seem that Yeha was destroyed and Axum took its place as the capital of Ethiopia, Troglodytica. Okay, fam. Yeha was destroyed. Who occupied Yeha, family? Who was doing trade all across to India? Who took control of what we call the Middle East, Arabia, eastern part of Africa, the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire was occupied. The Roman Empire occupied what? What land was the Roman Empire occupying in Ethiopia? Adulis, Yeha, East Africa. But yet we see that Yeha was destroyed. Who destroyed Yeha? Who destroyed Yeha? Could it be the Romans? So consequently, it would seem that Yeha was destroyed and Axum took its place. This is why they moved to Axum, because Yeha was destroyed. Its place as the capital of Ethiopia, Troglodytica. See, they make up these words. Can we say Israel? Why do you not hear anything taught about Ethiopia? Why did you barely hear anything about Ethiopia growing up? Because it's the land of Israel. They don't want you to know that. It is where Jerusalem is. Thank you for the gift, another Hebrew girl. So Axum took its place as capital of Ethiopia, Troglodytica, during the reign of the Ptolemies. What? During the reign of the Ptolemies. Who were the Ptolemies? Greco-Romans who took over Egypt. What did Rome do? Take over the whole of East Africa and Egypt. Come on now. It all starts to come together. So this will account for the omission of the name of Yeha or Eva in the earlier geographers such as Pliny, Ptolemy, and the Periplus. The name possibly survives in the Oolitic Gulf. Ptolemy says the whole coast, which is near the Arabian and Oolitic Gulf, is called Regio Troglodytica as far as Mount Elyphus, in which lived the Adulites. What? Adulis, people from Adulis. And the Avalites. Also, we read that the Avalites were great importers of myrrh into Sabia, from whence it was imported into Europe. Hence, we may suppose that prior to the Greco-Roman occupation, of Adulis, the whole of this district was occupied by traders from South Arabia who exported gold, dust, ivory, leather, hides, and aromatics for the Sabaean markets, and their capital was at Yeha. Yeha was destroyed by who? These occupiers. The modern Yeha, for it is quite clear that no more extensive remains of this Himyaric occupation occurs elsewhere. Since writing the above, Mueller has sent me positive proof of this theory as he reads one of the inscriptions we found at Yeha, thus his house Yeha, or our Elephantine Island. My position is that right here, parts of what we call Egypt was also controlled by Israel back in the day. Why do I say this? Some of you all know about Elephantine Island. Hebraism of West Africa, Joseph Williams. A history of the Arabs in the Sudan and some account of the people who precede them and of the tribes inhabiting Darfur. He incorporated in his work translations of 32 native manuscripts with explanatory notes. One of these manuscripts is a copy of a work by Sayyid Gumala ibn Aid, who migrated from El Yemen probably in the 15th century, and which bears annotations of succeeding generations of his descendants. This manuscript refers to what? A Jewish tribe in what is now the English Sudan as El Yahud. Where? English Sudan as El Yahud. What? A Jewish tribe. And while the writer seeks to derive the name from the Arabic word hada, to repent, it is more likely the generic term used by Arabs for the Jews. There's a remote possibility, of course, that the word may be distantly connected to Yao. We talked about Yao. And remember, I told you, removing the vowel points, we could say Ye, or Yao, or Yawa, or Yeha. The name of the supreme being as used in the connection with the Elephantine temple. These Jews then might be the descendants of old colonists of the Nile, to whom the title Yehudites would be perfectly applicable. My contention is that this location, occupied by Jews in what they call Egypt, or part of Egypt, was occupied because it was controlled by Jews. This was part of the territory of our ancestors. This was part of the territory controlled by Israelites. So Jews, descendants of old colonists of the Nile, the territory of what? The Aksumite Empire, which I've showed had a Roman occupation. Rome occupied all this area. Why? Because it was Israelite land. Why was there a quote unquote synagogue? I forgot the name of the place, something with A. I should have looked it up before I came. But over there in the modern area called Israel. Y'all put it in the chat. That little area right outside of modern day Jerusalem, where they had that little synagogue. The reason why they had that little synagogue is because that area, that land was also controlled by Jews, controlled by Israelites before it was taken over by the Roman Empire, before we were kicked out by other empires. This was our land. So the Aksumite Empire and the Elephantine. So here we see, right, the Aksum Empire. You see that on the left. We see Adulis, Zula. We see the Elephantine, which is close to the same area, just a little further down of the Red Sea of the Aksumite kingdom. My contention is that this area, going all the way to India, was our territory. I'm going to prove it. You know I didn't come here unprepared. The Ganges, the Ethiopian emperor who ruled India. What? Can we say the black man that ruled India? Can we say the black emperor? Stop thinking about those Arab-looking people. They don't mean that when they say it. Not saying they're not considered Ethiopians because they're of color. Point being is, in your mind, Ethiopian means black, Negroes. Ganges, the Ethiopian emperor who ruled India. But of all the kings of Ethiopia, Ganges was most famous, who with his Ethiopian army passed into Asia and conquered all as far as the river Ganges, to which he left that name being before called Claros. So it used to be called Claros, but an Ethiopian emperor, Telerad, that's it. Thank you, Minister Tate. Telerad was the name of that area where that synagogue is. The reason why that synagogue was there is because it was under our control. Just like Egypt controlled much of the territory, we controlled much of the territory back in the day. Just as Rome occupied and controlled much of that territory, we controlled much of that territory. So anyway, the Ganges was named after a Ethiopian. Can we say a Negro? Can we say a black man? Because that's what it meant. We talked about this. It was controlled by Ethiopians, black folks. The river Ganges, the Indians, where India is. Ganges in India, Ganga in Bangladesh, Padma is a transboundary river of Asia which flows through India and Bangladesh. So here's the river of the Ganges, controlled by Ethiopians. Rome did what? Trade from East Africa all the way to India. What? Rome did trade what? From East Africa all the way to India. I contend that is part of the territory we controlled all the way to West Africa to the Niger River. Y'all think God was giving us a little piece of land? No. That's our land. All of it. Even what you call modern Israel was inclusive in the territory of the empire of Israel. Not some little strip, a piece of little land that you cut out of a little side piece of the land. I'm like, come on now. Y'all think God gave us a little snippet, little piece of land in the Middle East? What's wrong with y'all? From all the way from the Niger all the way to India? Now that's some land. That's some land. Elephantine Island and Yeha. Hebrew in the West Africa, Joseph Williams. Elsewhere, Barton surmises it has been conjectured that this colony, connected as it was with a fortress, was placed at this point by Psammetichus II. While this theory cannot be confirmed, it seems quite probable, as the Deuteronomic law provides that there should be but one sanctuary. It has been plausibly conjectured that the temple at Elephantine was constructed after the destruction of the temple at Jerusalem in 586 BC. In this temple in the land of Egypt, in the land of Egypt, Yahweh, or can we say Yeha, or Yeva, or Yeha, or Ava, was worshipped under the name Yahu or Yahoo. Elephantine temple was constructed after the destruction of the temple at Jerusalem. If it was constructed after the destruction of the temple at Jerusalem, they put up a temple there, or a synagogue, because it wasn't the temple, then that was territory controlled by us. You think the Egyptians would have allowed that? See, they want to put in your mind, in this temple in the land of Egypt, well, you might call it the land of Egypt now, but it was Israelite land before it was taken over. All of this was Israelite land, I'm telling you. This is the conclusion I have reached. So notice this was the area of the kingdom of Axum, inhabited by Jews, which also happened to be occupied by Romans. Now, this is a paper, right? You see the text right there, files.eric.ed.gov, by Scott Carolyn McPherson. Ancient India, the Asiatic Ethiopian Center for International Education, consists largely of 8 readings in the form of lengthy quotations from various published works by other authors. Asian studies, ethnic groups, foreign countries, foreign culture, multicultural education. All right? Why is this important? We're going to learn something here. A number of scholars, both ancient and modern, have come to the conclusion that the world's first civilization was created by a people known as the Ethiopians. A number of scholars, I'm going to repeat this, both ancient and modern, have come to the conclusion that the world's first civilization was created by a people known as Ethiopians. The name Ethiopians we owe to what? The ancient Greeks, the Greco-Roman Empire, the ones who took over our land, occupied us, who know a lot about us, right? Why do you think there's a Septuagint Bible? When the Greeks came in contact with the dusky inhabitants of Africa and Asia, dusky, can we say dark black? They called them the burnt faces. The Greek word for burnt was ethios, ethios, and the word for face was ops. So ethios plus ops became Ethiopian. The Greeks reasoned that these people developed their dark complexion because they were closer to the sun than were the fair inhabitants of Europe. According to Homer and Herodotus, the inhabitants of the following territories were Ethiopians: the Sudan, Egypt, Arabia. What? The Sudan, Egypt, Arabia. What? Hold on, wait. Ethiopians? What? That means black folks. That means Negroes. The Sudan, Egypt. What? Sudan was black. Egypt was black. Arabia was black. What? Palestine. Oh, wait. Stop. Stop. Palestine was black? Oh. Hold on. Did I misread that, folks? Family? Did I? Wait, hold on. I'm confused. They told me those were full of white folks. Let me read that again. I'm confused. The Greeks reasoned that these people developed what? Their dark complexion. Okay. Because they were closer to the sun, so they were dark, not light, then were their fair inhabitants of Europe, so Europe was lighter. According to Homer and Herodotus, what? Homer and Herodotus, the inhabitants of the following territories were black. It says Ethiopians. They just say they were dark complexion. They just say they were black. Sudan was black. Oh, well, we know Sudan is black. Egypt was black. Oh, well, most of us know Egypt was black, even though some of them say they were white. Arabia, well, they told us those are a bunch of white Arab Turks. But they say they were full of Ethiopians, huh? Palestine, wait, hold on, wait a minute. Palestine was black. Western Asia, oh my goodness, Western Asia was black. Oh, India. Oh, India was, I'm telling you, this is our land, family. A History of Ethiopia, volume P, pages 1 and 2 by Sir E.A. Wallace. The Ethiopians are currently thought of as being exclusively an African people. Hold on, wait a minute. Let me put some bass in it. Wait, hold on, wait a minute. Let me put some bass in it. Let me put some bass in it. The Ethiopians are currently thought of as being exclusively. What? No. Because isn't Israel made of Khazarians? Isn't Israel mixed with J haplogroup people? And isn't Israel mixed with Chinese? And isn't some of the people in the Middle East Ethiopians? No, aren't some of them Israel? The Ethiopians are currently thought of as being exclusively an African people. But the case was quite different in ancient times. Budge continues by stating the following. It seems certain that classical historians and geographers called the whole region, what? The whole region, what? The whole region, what? The whole region, what? The region, what? Where all these black folks at? From India to Egypt? Both countries inclusive by the name of Ethiopia. This whole area was called Ethiopia. From India to Egypt. And we know if we go beyond that, all the way to the west coast of Africa, Ethiopians, right? We saw the maps. You saw the maps. I showed you the maps. And consequently, they regarded all the dark skinned and black peoples who inhabited it as Ethiopians. Yes. I have a question, family. Before I go on, he asked me to tell you modern House of Sada, K's are Turks. But some people want to say we all the same. I keep asking y'all, is y'all the same as them K's are? But before we go on, I have to make sure we all have an understanding. I have to make sure we have an understanding, family. What were the ancient colors according to Homer and Herodotus? What were the color of the people in Palestine, family? Come on now. I can't move on till you answer this question. I'm gonna sit here and wait. What did it say were the color of the people of Palestine? I'm not gonna move. I'm not gonna move. Remember that video I shared on Tail Ministries of the black folks in what we call modern Israel? What was the color of the people, family? I'm not gonna move on till you answer me. What did Herodotus and Homer say the color of the people in Palestine? That's where Jerusalem supposedly is. That's where the land of it. Thank you, black. I ain't make it up. I told y'all they gotta come early in the morning to try to beat me. Abu, you gotta come early in the morning to try to beat me. Y'all keep looking stupid, but Abu, you keep looking stupid, Abu. With a name like that, you probably are stupid. Biblically speaking, we can see how the kingdom of Israel spread and influenced all nations in that area. We can see here the rulership of a black race of people, and not just the Hamites, but the Negro people, aka Israelites, as well. We will see more on the next page the influence of the Negro. So we got a video that shows black folks in what we call Jerusalem in the early 1900s. You don't see them today, do you? We see here that the people in Palestine and Arabia were black. Not only were they black, they were exclusively an African people. I'm gonna throw my mic down. Yeah, somebody please call 911. Not Abyssinians in Ethiopia. Watch this, family. Watch this. This is from the same article. And to this day, the Abyssinian, in reciting Psalms, whatever, says, Ethiopia shall make her hands reach unto Yah, or God. During the preparation of this work, I have been driven to the conclusion that the Ethiopians, whose manners and customs have been so fully described by Herodotus, Diodorus, Strabo, Pliny, and others, were not Abyssinians. What? What? Hold on. During the preparation of this work, I have been driven to the conclusion that the Ethiopians, whose manners and customs have been so fully described by Herodotus, Diodorus, Strabo, Pliny, and others, were what? Not Abyssinians at all, but the natives of Upper Nubia and the island of Meroe, and the Negroes and Negroid peoples who inhabited the hot, moist lands which extend from southern Abyssinia to the equator. The hieroglyphic inscriptions of the numbers, I'm not going to even read those Greek numbers, right? Dynasties prove that caravans travel from Egypt to the countries round about the Blue Nile and to regions much further to the south, but there is no mention in them of any wait, hold on, wait, huh? There's no mention in them of any country which can be identified with Abyssinia proper. Wait, hold on. What did he just say, or what did she just say? What did she just say? So the people in Abyssinia were Negroes or Negroid people. They were natives of Upper Nubia and the island of Meroe. And what else did she say? She said that no mention in them of any country which can be identified with Abyssinia proper. In fact, the Egyptian inscriptions cannot be said to yield any direct information about the real Abyssinia or its people. And even the Nubian and Meroitic inscriptions or Meroitic inscriptions throw very little light upon the history of the period in which they were written. From the cuneiform inscriptions, we can expect no information about Abyssinia, though both the Assyrians and the Hebrews knew of the existence of the country of Cush. Does that not sound like somebody that made up the name Abyssinia? I'm just asking. Does this not sound like somebody made up the name Abyssinia? Because there's no mention of it anywhere from what I'm reading. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. Maybe, Jacoba, you don't understand what you're reading. Thank you, Carlos Kimmons, for the gift. Maybe you don't understand what you're reading, Jacoba. It sounds to me like there's no real place called Abyssinia. Is that what you understand, family? Maybe it was called something else. Maybe it was called Yasharal. Thank you, Purity, for the gift. I'm just asking. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. You know how they say we don't understand what we're reading, even though most of us are more educated than they are. Abyssinians or Israelites. If there's no real information about the real Abyssinian people as they have claimed, then the people were probably known by another name, more than likely Israelites or Yasharal, since historically we see nothing but Israelites in the continent of so-called Africa. We look at the history, all we see is a bunch of Jews all over the continent. All we see in East Africa is a bunch of Jews. I mean, we got Cushites, we got Canaanites, we got Hamites, but we see a whole bunch of Jews in East Africa, right? I showed you the maps. So who are these people? I'm just saying. Take all the evidence I got. See, you see why, fam, I'm 100%? Do you see why I'm 100% that this is Jerusalem? I'm going to shake that tree, Yehukanan. I'm going to shake that tree, bro. We about to go home, fam. I'm telling you. We about to go home. They couldn't let you know where the Israelite territory was. That's our land, and we were a great kingdom, dude. We coming back. I'm going to say this before I continue. And I might talk about this on the show on the main channel. There will be no African Union until Judah comes home. There will be no African Union, and I mean uniting Africa, till Judah comes home. You Africans, you want to unite Africa, it ain't happening until we come home. The Bible says, for y'all gonna take the stick of Ephraim and the stick of Judah and put them together and make them one nation. There ain't gonna be no union in Africa until y'all get us home. Y'all better start fighting to bring us home. You want to unite that continent. But let me continue. Absalom. Now, this is important, family. This is important. In 2 Samuel 18:18, Absalom creates a pillar for himself. During his lifetime, Absalom had taken a pillar and erected it in the King's Valley as a monument to himself, for he thought, I have no Absalom's son to carry on the memory of my name. He named the pillar after himself, and it is called Absalom's monument to this day. I told you the attributes got to be there, family. The attributes got to be there. Where you going with this, Jacoba? Stick with me. Why did Absalom create this pillar for himself? If you read the context of this scripture, you will see that he created this pillar because he was going to die. He was going to die. During his lifetime, what? While he was alive, Absalom what? Had taken a pillar and what? Erected it for himself while he was alive. Why does it matter while he was alive? Because he was going to die. He had no offspring. He had no offspring. So he said in the King's Valley, he's going to build a pillar because he don't have a son to build the pillar for him since he's a king. So Absalom going to build this pillar for himself. So if you read the context of the scripture, you will see that he created this pillar because he was going to die and because he had no son to carry on his name. The kings erected pillars throughout the Israelite Empire. These are like headstones for graves or markings of great events. In Genesis 35:14, we see our forefather Jacob put up a pillar where Yah had talked to him. Jacob set up a stone pillar at the place where Yah had talked with him, and he poured out a drink offering on it. He also poured oil on it. Why don't we see these pillars in the Middle East? Come on now. Why don't we see pillars in the Middle East? If our forefathers built pillars, where are they? Where are they? They talk about the Valley of the Kings in the modern Israel, but there's no pillars. Why don't we see these pillars in the Middle East? We talking about generations and generations of kings, generations and generations of people, generations of elite. Where are the pillars? So why don't we see the pillars in the Middle East location of the so-called Jerusalem? Why are all of these biblical things in modern Ethiopia? It is because it is the true Jerusalem. I told you I'm 100% convinced. It ain't going to convince me otherwise. How is Jerusalem in the land of Ham? That's like asking, why does the sun shine? That had nothing to do with nothing. Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology. You see this pillar on the ground, family? There's a bunch of pillars all over Ethiopia. Why? Because that was part of our culture. It's all in the Bible. Axumite stelae, true treasures of human craftsmanship. The organization and technological skills of Axumites were represented by the construction of stelae. These monuments were created in line of older African traditions and made of single pieces of local granite. They were cut out and transported from quarries located at least 4 kilometers away, Gabadra Hill, to the location where they needed to be erected. In most cases, the stelae, can we say pillars, mark elite and royal burial tombs. What? In most cases, the stelae mark what? Elite and royal burial tombs. What did Absalom say? I need to create my own pillar because I don't have no son to build one for me. Larger stelae appear to decorate the graves of the Axumite kings. Can we say Valley of the Kings? How come we don't see those quote unquote stelae or pillars in modern Israel? The monoliths are spread over multiple terrains, including fields in the northern and southeastern sides of the city. The Gudite stelae, or can we say pillar? The Gudite stelae field and the central stelae park, the latter began to emerge as a regional ceremonial settlement center around 100 AD. 100 AD, and houses the finest manufactured and decorated monoliths of Axum. Can we say Israel? Can we say Israel? Absalom was a king. He had a pillar made for him. Or can we say stelae? It ain't over there in the Middle East. Stele, an upright stone slab or column typically bearing a commemorative inscription or relief design, often serving as a gravestone. That's why we get these little stones over our little graves. Israelite traditions. A pillar, a tall vertical structure of stone, wood, or metal used as a support for a building or an ornament or monument. Or monument. See these all over Ethiopia? Your forefather, Jacob, created a pillar to honor where Yah was, where he heard Yah. Absalom created pillars. Now, I'm going to say this, but because linguistically I couldn't prove it, I didn't put it here. But remember when Yeshua was on the Mount of Transfiguration with Moses and Elijah, they said, let us create a tent right here to honor you. Now, do you really think they were going to create a tent? A place to be housed in, like the translation says? Because remember, it's to honor some elite, royalty, a king. That's what steles are for. Do you think they wanted to put a tent up there like the King James translation is, the Masoretic text? No, they wanted to put a pillar up there to honor Yeshua, to honor Moses, to honor Elijah. This should be all over the Middle East. Where did we find them? Ethiopia. Axum, what they call Axum. I just hate the lies. I hate that they lied to us. I'm like, anyway. So here we also have those particular churches. Now, right here, it says the 12 Rock Cut Churches Complex in Lalibela. Now, remember, I did some other videos, and every research and everything I was finding said 11, 11, 11, 11. Nothing but 11 churches. Why would you have 11 churches? Do y'all remember when I said I bet you there were 12 churches? Where here it says a lofty UNESCO-funded space frame roof protects some of the churches from the ravages of heat and time. That's sort of cut off. I think it's the attention that this site has received in recent decades has intensified scholarly debates about the churches. How were they built, designed and directed, the operation, and who were the masons? What religious iconography underlies their design? What was their liturgical function? Were they modeled on the Holy Land? How are they modeled after the Holy Land? The Holy Land ain't got this. Were they modeled after the Holy Land? Were all 12 built by King Lalibela, who ruled in the early 13th century? 12 churches representing the 12 tribes of Israel. 12 churches representing the apostles, the 12 apostles. Remember, in a previous show, I illustrated that the historian stated that the churches in Lalibela in Ethiopia were 11 structures. Why did they lie? Why did they say it was only 11 when there's really 12? I stated there was probably 12 to denote the 12 tribes of Israel. Well, I have found proof that there are 12 and not 11 churches. It makes sense. Representing the 12 tribes of Israel, representing the 12 apostles, which makes sense of why the first Christians, what? You find in Ethiopia. Come on now. Biblically speaking, where were the first quote unquote Christians, family? Where were the first Christians in the Bible? Was it in Europe? Or the first believers in Yeshua? Were they in Europe? Or were they in Israel? Come on, family. Where were the first believers in Yeshua? Were they in Europe or were they in Israel? Not first called Christians in Antioch. Where were the first believers? Not where they were first called Christians. Where were the first believers? Yes, Jerusalem. Jerusalem. And they're going to tell you that the first Christians, the oldest Christians, are in Ethiopia. How can it be unless that is Jerusalem? How can that be unless that is Jerusalem? Conclusion. When you are honest with the research, it all starts to make sense. Everything starts to line up, and we see the deceptions against our people so that we would never wake up to who we are. Now we also know why there were Jews in ancient India, the Sidi, and others, because it was part of our territory. And people like the Sidi, right? Why? Because that was our territory. Why were the Romans trading from East Africa all the way to India? Because that was our territory. They took over our trade route. Remember, everybody used to come to Israel. Everybody used to come to Jerusalem to trade. Why? Because King David was there and King Solomon was there. And he had the biggest nation on the planet. Now, we also know why there were Jews in ancient India. The Sidi, like the Sidi. It is because Israel had trading routes all the way to India, and the so-called Ethiopians, though included Hamites, Canaanites, and Israelites, the area became occupied by Roman troops. It all starts to make sense. Like I've stated, no one has to agree with me. This is what I see, and it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. I done took the puzzle pieces that they hid, fam, and I didn't put it together from various sources because the Most High allows me to see things and put the pieces together so you can see the image. For my detractors, take your puzzle pieces and put them together to make sense. Take your puzzle pieces and the archaeological digs and all that and prove that the Middle East is our land. I didn't show you that Palestine was occupied by black people. I didn't show you that Arabia was occupied by black people. I didn't told you that whole area was called Ethiopia because it was occupied by black people. Can we say Negroes? Can we say Yasharal? I'm telling you right now, I'm excited. Why am I excited? Because the Most High is opening up our eyes. Father Yah is coming to deliver his people from the land of their captivity. These Gentiles are going buck wild because the Israelites then woke up. Because they are niggas. Yes, call me a niggas. Yes, I'm a niggas. I'm a king. Where you at, Pastor Kelly? Can we say niggas? You're a king, Pastor Kelly. You're a king, Minister Teyu. You're a queen, Chantel Smith. All of y'all, Lashana, you're a queen. All of y'all, kings and queens, y'all part of a royal family. We going home, family. It's over. They can't hide it no more. Even urban apologists, they lie, and people don't listen to them no more because they like, all they do is lie. People ain't stupid. People know when people telling the truth. People know when people lying. They think people dumb. Well, some of them may be. I ain't gonna lie, because some of them be following Mormonism, Druidism. I ain't gonna lie. I feel sorry for some of them, but may the Most High open their eyes. Yes, you a niggas, my brother Keith Williams. We niggas. You can call me a niggas all day because we kings. We queens for the women. We royalty. I done told y'all it's over. I done told y'all it's the fall of the Gentile powers and what's happening. They don't even get it. They under judgment. Father, y'all coming for us. We going home. When we gonna give glory and honor to our King. We going back to the land we were taken from, we were stolen from. They done told you you nobody. They done told you that you can't succeed. You're gonna be last all the days of your life. But you kings can't be last. Kings gotta be first. You queens can't be last. Queens gotta be first. You niggas, my niggas. Love y'all, family. I'm excited. I am excited. We going home, fam. We going home, and I don't care what nobody say. I don't care what no urban apologists say. Y'all can stay here. All I care. As a matter of fact, I hope all you urban apologists stay right here in America. I hope you don't leave. I hope you lock down. I hope you go hide in these caves in America while we go home. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. Love you with the love of the Messiah. Share this video. Give it likes. And I thank all of those who gave for the super chat, and thank all of our patrons. Thank all of our Cash App givers. Peace out.